It's another heart to heart. Whoop, whoop, whoop. My name is Elmira. I am your host here on Heart to Heart. We share stories of breakthrough with healers from all across the world. Well, really, they are healers, leaders from everywhere across the world. Today is a fabulous conversation with Heidi McLain. She is a relationship coach as well as a personal development coach. We took the title Waiting for the Right Time from something she said to me in conversation. I can tell you up front, hey Mantis, what's going on? I can tell you up front, she she has a program. Well, there are multiple programs, but she's always speaking about resiliency. And y'all know I'm big on that too. It's the reason why I'm here today. I've been resilient throughout my life. I've been able to make it through. That's why I say these are breakthrough stories. I thought my breakup might break me. I thought back in 2016, my company being sued might break me. I thought back in 2023, this is even more recent, me being put out of my massage space might break me. It did not break me because I am still here. I am still here. And that's what we're talking about. That's what Heidi is huge on, resiliency. And we're going to have a conversation about that and so much. I've been having a slow morning. I've been taking my time, getting ready. I haven't been doing too much, just taking it easy. Hi there, Heidi. You
Good
look pretty.
morning.
All the colors.
Thank you. I snuck into a room. At a hotel, and this is their artwork behind me.
That's
Feel the
okay.
tightest I could find.
That is okay. You are on the move, and that's sometimes what our work required. I was just telling everybody we titled this Waiting for the Right Time in terms of what you help people with in your own life story. What would you say is a pivotal moment that brought you to the place that you are today?
Oh, there are so many pivotal moments. I
Right.
could give you a roadmap, and those pivotal moments I love to call hinge points, kind of like opening a door, right? And it swings a direction and lets you have new opportunities. Um, Gosh, I'm trying to think of one specific one. I think for me, um, I had a situation where I actually was in my dream job. I was in marketing and research and development with Pizza Hut International. I always wanted to be in marketing and just part of the corporate world, and I loved it. And then I got sick, and I actually ended up on bed rest for a year and a half. And
Wow.
um, took me completely out of the game. And unfortunately, my physicians, they were well intended, but what they prescribed was making me more sick. And so then I decided to do some research on my own and become my own health advocate and reversed the condition that I had. It took some time, but I was able to reverse it. And so then I went back to school to study health science and psychology and nutrition and have been helping people with their health solutions for a few years, and then went through a divorce and
Wow.
wanted to know, what I was doing wrong there. So I went to the marriage boot camp and went through their program and learned a lot. And then they invited me to be a coach with them, and I was a coach with them for over 5 years.
Mhm.
And so now in my own private practice, I help people, like you mentioned, in resilience. So their mental health, their relationships, their careers. We all go through changes and adversity in life. But those were really the pivotal points that led me on the path to where I am today.
Yeah, that was the roadmap right there. You said you were going to outline. Because it seemed like a lot. Like you were in your dream job and then you got sick, and what the doctors weren't doing wasn't really helping you. How long did it take you to get to that point? Like, I want to be my own health advocate. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait for anybody else.
Well, I had three young children at the time, and I was a single parent, and I was like, you know what? I either have to get busy living or get busy dying. And I felt like I was already dying, and that wasn't an option. I wasn't going to abandon my three kids. I'd already lost my mom, and I knew what that did to me. And there's no way I was going to do that to my kids. And I want to be around for my grandkids. So I said, enough's enough. I've got to do something different than what I'm doing right now. And so since I was not working at the time because I was on bed rest, I just started to studying when I was awake. And thankfully, I had a couple of great physicians that listened to my suggestions. And
Mm-hmm.
also, God just put the right people in my life at that time. Like, I never thought about um, supplements that we take, right? I always took them over the counter.
Yeah.
But somebody introduced me to natural supplements without the chemicals and things like that. And I started taking them, and I noticed within 6 weeks, my symptoms had reduced significantly where I could get out of bed and I could clean my house and I could do all these things. And I was like, okay, sometimes we keep following a certain path, but it's not getting us the results we need. And I'm like, okay, at what point do I need to, you know, have that hinge point and take a different direction? And when I started getting those results and I started feeling better, it was like, okay, I'm on the right path and I'm going to continue down it. And it did take some time to reverse that condition. It took me 4 years, but I did it in a natural, healthy way and in a way that I can help other people. So I'm eternally grateful for what I learned through that process. And I learned to trust my intuition and my own gut.
Yeah, because that's huge. You really did trust your intuition. I was watching somebody else today. She's a colleague of mine. Pangea was speaking about the power of our intuition. And it's just that little small voice you explain, okay, I can either go down this path and continue to die, or I can live. And you knew within yourself, like, I want to go that way. I want to live.
Yeah.
Like, and you trusted it, and you could you see the future, so to speak, like the 4 years down the road or 2 years down the road?
So I have a really strong relationship with God, and He told me that after time I would be healed.
Mm,
And so that gave me hope. And like I said, once I started down that path of taking the natural supplements and I started feeling better, I knew I was on the right path. I didn't know all the steps I'd need to take, of course, but I knew that was part of it. And when I started feeling better, then I could go for walks, and that helped my mental health. That helped me physically. And then I took the next step, and then the next step. I ultimately had to have like spinal fusion surgery and all these other things, but it was one step at a time, one process at a time, and trusting the process. Like I said, there were multiple hinge points, but the
mm.
result was I was healed. So, but again, it was listening to that intuition and having the faith to take the steps necessary in a world where it's something that I've never experienced before. And that's where we're at a lot in life. We get hit with adversity, whether it's a natural disaster, a job change, a new baby, you name it. We get hit with all these different new situations, and it's uncomfortable for us. And we default to our familiar.
Yeah.
And sometimes our familiar won't bail us out of a flood. And so we have to be willing and to be open and say, I don't know what I don't know, but I'm going to try something different. And sometimes that's our escape hatch. So
What do you typically, because you just talked about getting out of the familiar when we reach these hinge points in life, what do you say to your clients when they don't want to get out of the familiar? Because I know sometimes it can be tough. I know personally, and other people I know, they're like, but I want to do it. I want to hold my blankie, my comfort blankie.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, that does happen a lot. And sometimes all I am is somebody who plants the seed and then God takes care of the rest. And a lot of times I have people, potential clients, who come back like a year later and said, okay, I'm ready.
Mm,
But people have to do things in their own time. When they're ready, maybe their circumstances at home isn't right. Maybe their mental mindset isn't there. And even though I help people shift that, um, really, it's their journey. And I get to be a guide on that journey if they allow me to, but it's their journey. So the other thing is I'll ask them, well, what are you getting from not changing?
right.
And usually when they start thinking about it logically, because a lot of times it's emotionally based that they hold on, right? And it's like, look, you can feel good, just as good as you feel here, but actually better if you replace this blanket for this bigger blanket
Yeah.
or this softer blanket, right? Like, oh, or here's your blanket and a roaring fire. Look,
It's
look how
like,
warm
I
you
want
can be.
that too. Yeah.
So, and then what do you have to gain by changing? You know, um, and it's fine. People, when they're ready, they're ready. But of course, I try to encourage them and help them see where it can lead. But sometimes, and it's psychologically and sociologically proven that once somebody thinks about making a change, it usually takes between 6 months and 18 months before they actually act on it. And so I know that. And so that's their journey, and that's okay. And then there are those who, when they recognize how much a behavior isn't serving them, then they're like, okay, sign me up. Let's go. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of feeling this. And by the time people reach out to me, they're already tired of
Yeah.
the experience they're already having. So,
You said something that struck me, and it's the 6 to 18 months. Like, I may make a decision, and I can use myself as an example right now. Like, I had a meeting yesterday with a marketing company to look at creating a new website because this is a new business for me. I had a website with my massage therapy business, and I'm like, yeah, it's a go inside. But then I'm like, do I really want to pull the trigger and spend the money and that? But I've had a lot of moments like that where you're speaking the truth. The 6 to 18 months, how do you prevent, because I want to speak to you as a business owner right here, how do you prevent yourself from feeling like, oh, I had this meeting. I knew I bombed it. I did great in the discovery call. I knew I sold him or her on everything. Why didn't they buy the program? How do you prevent feeling like that, knowing what you know with the stats, like the 6 to 18 months?
so my friends will laugh because I say this all the time. I'm a big proponent of the book, The Four Agreements. And in it is always do your best, don't make assumptions. Um, but see, now I'm on the spot.
I haven't read it yet, but I know about it, so I can't give you number 3 and 4.
Let's see. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. Do what you say you're going to do, and it'll come to me. But don't take it personally. That's it. That was the one I was
See,
striving for
it was
anyway.
you knew it was coming.
Well, and that was the one I wanted to lead with, but hey. Um, but don't make assumptions. And you know what? Again, it's their journey. It's not mine. And you know, I, I just accept them for where they're at. And it's like, okay. And I firmly believe when we let go of trying to control those things, there are three other people lined up behind them that are going to enroll or join or whatever. And I even shared that with a friend of mine. He owns a roofing business,
Yeah.
and he's actually a client of mine too. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I invested so much time with this lady, and she just was a nightmare to work with." And I go, "Just let her go." And he's like, "What do you mean? I need the money." I go, "You are coming from a place of lack and a place of a
Say that
scarcity."
again.
And
Yeah.
it's like, no, you have to live in abundance and know that, you know what? Right behind her's three more clients. And you know what? He did. He let her go and said, you know, I don't think this is a relationship that I feel comfortable with. And I am not kidding. Within 2 days, he got three more clients to replace her.
Look at that. I'm going to use a phrase you can get that. Look at God. Because
Mhm.
it really is. Because when we let go and allow that abundance in, it's right. It's what's right. The timing, because what would have happened with that lady, with him, is she would have occupied all his time, all his energy. He didn't have space for it so soon. You said 2 days later, it came.
Yep.
More came to him. And I
Yep.
bet you he netted more profit from those roofing jobs in that one client.
And less, less stress, you know,
Yeah.
save energy. And yeah, it was such it was so exciting to watch that happen. But yeah, we have to have courage to sometimes shut something down and say, this is not working for me. And that could be in a business deal, it could be in a relationship, it could be activities like sports with kids. Sometimes we think, oh, we got to. No, you don't got to anything. You can be in the driver's seat. Um, and sometimes people are like, well, there's consequences associated. Well, yeah, but sometimes the consequences of giving up your energy and your time is actually bigger than the consequence of not doing that thing. So, you know, and literally, I had a friend end up having a stroke a couple of weeks ago,
Mm.
you know, because they're not going to the doctors and doing regular checkups. They weren't following their exercise plan. They weren't eating correctly. And it's like, so the consequence of not doing those things is having a traumatic health scare, and doing more damage than it would have been by actually moving forward with those things. Now, sometimes there are things that happen obviously outside of our control, but um, there are consequences either way. And so you have to weigh the pros and cons. And I love in business, we do these SWOT analysis. What are the
Oh yeah.
strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? But we really, when it comes to choices in our life, even if it comes down to serving other people, there's so many people pleasers that give up their time and energy serving and pleasing other people. And then there's nothing left for themselves. And then, you know, they're in a stress state. And so it's so important to really figure out what things cost from mindset, emotions, finances, and how it's impacting you to be able to be successful and move forward.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because you we got to take a look at all of that. It plays a part in our lives. How do you think? Because you told me you love the four agreements, and your friends are like, yes, Heidi is on these four agreements. How do you think that plays into you teaching about resilience, you guiding people? Because that's what you said you are. You are a guide. They do it in their right timing.
Mhm.
How does that relate? How does the four agreements relate to resiliency?
Okay, well, if you always do your best, you can feel confident, because you can't demand more than the best from
Mm.
yourself. You know, so when you are putting your best foot forward, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, well, not only did I try, but I did the best that I could. And that gives you confidence and security right there. Um, when you don't make assumptions, guess what happens? You start getting curious and you start asking questions and you get more information, and then
Yeah.
you can show up in better ways. Whether again, it's in your career, for your children, for your spouse, with your friendships. Um, and it's a beautiful thing. When you keep your word, it builds trust. And again, career, family, kids. if you do the things you say you will do, then people will gravitate towards you and rely on you. Plus, it gives you a sense of security. And again, it gives you confidence. And so, again, this time of year, a lot of people set goals and
Oh, yeah.
try to change their habits, right? Well, nothing tears down confidence like making a promise to yourself and then not keeping it. And so, a
Ooh,
lot of times,
that's huge.
yeah.
That is
And there's a lot of people who no longer even make goals or New Year's resolutions because they keep breaking them. And it's that knife in the chest. I didn't keep my word to myself. And so that is super important. And then I talked about, did I talk about assumptions? I did.
You did. That was the first one you
Okay.
mentioned was don't make assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it helps you
And
be a better, you were saying it helps you be a better person.
yeah, and then not taking things personally. So, again, how we speak to ourselves, we believe more than if there was a whole stadium full of people cheering us on. If I think that I'm a loser and everybody else is cheering me on, I will walk away from that stadium of people cheering me on and go, I don't deserve that. And so, our mindset is so important. And so, um, we need to make sure that um, we provide space for, all right, I lost my train of thought in the middle of it.
It's okay. You were
Um,
talking about mindset.
yeah. But there was a whole, what we say to ourselves about ourselves. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. So, um, not believing in the best intentions of others, right? Believing that, guess what? They're showing up as themselves in their
Yeah.
imperfect state. I'm showing up as my imperfect self in my imperfect state. And it's okay to not make assumptions about where they're coming from. But I think I am so sorry. I don't know why I've lost my train of thought.
It's
Um,
okay. Like that happens. It means that another thought is a coming. It just
let's see. We talked about always doing your best. We talked about not making
making
assumptions.
assumptions.
Do
Yeah.
things you say you're going to do. Um, but yeah, believing in the best intentions of others really makes a difference. So many times, especially in relationships, somewhere along the line, there's a disconnect and there's no resolution in a conflict. And then the mind starts attaching the beliefs that our partners or managers or coworkers are our
Mm.
adversaries when really they're not. They may have just been having a bad day. And so,
True.
really, giving people the benefit of the doubt, and not taking it personally. That's what we were on, is not taking it personally.
Yes.
If somebody doesn't text, like I have a course where I teach people how to date today. There are some people who are like, oh my gosh, they didn't text back in the next 15 minutes. They don't like me. And it's like,
You're at work.
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly. So, like, so it's funny how it plays a part in things so those are some of the applications that you can use those four agreements in. And like I said, you could use it in any relationship that you have, whether it be business or with your child or with school. It's really about freeing your energy to be present and to let go of stress and live a more resilient.
yeah.
So you have space for good things.
You just made me realize something about the four agreements. As I mentioned, have not read it yet, but as you're describing them, I picked up that those agreements are really with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because we think, oh, I'm agreeing to something with my boss or with my spouse or with my children. But no, it's like we got to first start with ourselves, because one of the things you mentioned is, have I kept, you were talking about the New Year's resolution. Did I keep my word to myself? And it's
Yep.
something I'm big on with my clients with my OCD method. nobody's going to stand there when it comes to your self-care and your self-development and hold your hand and say, Heidi, did you do this? Elmira, did you do this?
Right.
You have to keep the agreement to yourself. Why is it sometimes hard for us to keep these agreements?
Well, I think sometimes we lose vision of what it is we really want. I think sometimes we get bored. And you know what? Again, shame comes into the
Mm,
picture. And I love how Brene Brown breaks it down. Guilt
yeah, she's got
is,
good,
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah, guilt is good. Guilt is motivating. Guilt is acknowledging that behavior or choice was not helpful and was wrong. Where shame says, I am wrong or I am bad. And I think when we break those agreements with ourselves, then we're like, I'm bad or I'm not
Yeah.
good. When the actuality is, you know what? I've been making poor decisions for a while now, but guess what? I can change that right now. And once you're willing to frame it in that way and be like, okay, I'm making different decisions. I am going to be conscious of the agreements I've made with myself and I'm going to keep them. The other thing is, if people are people pleasers, again, and that comes usually from trauma or from our familiar growing up, then they're used to putting other people first. And then it's a constant cycle of sabotage to themselves and they abandon themselves. And then that deepens that wound of abandonment, and round and round and round we go, and deeper and deeper that cut goes. But again, the
Mm.
beautiful thing is to change that cycle, you just have to make a different choice.
Yeah, the choice is ours. And it's like that trauma is huge. And one thing I know, like this week, I some days I put like a question of the day on Facebook, and one of the questions why do some people have trouble relaxing? And most people wrote it's trauma, it's connected to trauma. And I was like, yeah, I can see that because as a massage therapist for 15 years, I bared direct witness to this. When clients would come in, they didn't know how to relax on the table. They didn't know how to put their cell phone down. It was just, how do y'all not know how to do this? But it is, like you said, that trauma
Yeah.
prevents us from feeling or knowing what is a relaxed state.
Right. Yeah.
It's it's quite fascinating to me. You mentioned the four agreements. I know this year you're also focusing on studying 12 books. What prompted you to do that with your groups in your programs and everything?
Well, part of resilience is personal development and challenging our thought processes. And the books that I've chosen are to do just that. One that will give you tools to help you develop your habits in a better way, but also to give you a new language. And when
Mm-hmm.
people have something to look forward to, like, oh, and they like to learn and they're developing, it actually reduces their stress, helps them have more confidence. And like this month, we did Atomic Habits. And of course, since we're kicking off the year, what habits can you put into place? And the cool thing is, it's not about necessarily goal setting. When you read the book, it really talks about making sure you have the right systems in place so that you can be successful for what you want to accomplish. It's about how you're identifying, because how we identify affects more of whether or not we're going to achieve a goal or not. So, for example, if I'm a smoker and I want to quit smoking, and let's say I haven't had a cigarette in a couple of weeks and somebody offers me a cigarette, there's one or two ways to approach this. So the person who goes, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. And then the other is, no thanks, I don't smoke.
Mm,
So
wow.
the
Yeah.
first person is still identifying as a smoker. What do you think the chance of them being successful is? Their mindset,
Minimal.
I'm still a smoker. Where the second person is like, I don't smoke, I'm not a smoker. So they are less likely to smoke, and because their identity is that they're not a smoker anymore. So their behavior follows suit. So these are the kind of things that why I want to do these books is because that helps us to be resilient in our mindset. And like I said, positive action typically follows. And so we're going to look at a bunch of things like crucial conversations. We're going to look at
Oh,
relationships.
I read that years ago. That's a good
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
another one you'll like, the body keeps the score. We're going
Yeah,
to be looking at that.
we had a conversation. I have not read that yet, but I hear snippets and know about it, but I need to read it.
So, yeah, so all of those things are to help us be resilient. And again, they're great conversation starters, which helps us connect with others. If you're going to have a
Mhm.
job interview or have changes that come up, it gives you something to lean on and talk about. And just also because with the resilience programs, I have a resilient men and a resilient women's program and a resilient couples program, it
Right.
gives them something to talk about in a community sense. And so then they build those connections, and those connections help you to reduce stress. So it's helpful in a lot of ways. So that's why I decided to include those in my program.
Yeah, you said something that's key. I never thought about books in that way, like connecting and helping it to reduce stress because I often find, just like you saw me as you mentioned, crucial conversation, I'm like, yes, I read it. So that was a connection. But I
Yeah.
never put a pin on it saying, oh yeah, I can relate to that person because we read the same book. We've been exposed to this. And then we can ask, well, what do you think about it? Oh, when the author said this in chapter 3, are you applying that principle or are you not?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I never thought about books as, yeah, I've been in book clubs and stuff, but it was more for enjoyment. I didn't think about it as like a connecting piece.
Yeah. And one additional thing, too. So, technology affects our brain so much. If you're focused on reading a book, especially before bed, you're turning off technology and it'll actually help you to sleep better.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. I had to throw my phone out of my room. I mean, unless I'm listening to, because sometimes I'll listen to meditation or binaural beats. Unless I'm listening to that, the phone is, I can't, I can't do it for that reason.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I can
great.
feel the energy coming from it.
Yeah, that's a great practice
Yeah,
that you're doing.
I tell other people, but some people they glued to that phone. They are glued.
It's that dopamine hit. This
It,
is fun. This is exciting. And it's like, yes, it's fun. Yes, it's exciting. And that's why you can't sleep.
Yeah, I know. Got you up in the middle of the night, insomnia, all kinds of stuff. Well, Heidi, as we close out, what final words do you have for people, and how can they find you about your programs, about everything that you are assisting us with?
Well, first, thank you, Elmira, for having me on today. I really appreciate it. I think you're amazing and I love what you're involved with. And the Resilient Men and Resilient Women and Resilient Couples program are just that. It's their program developed for you to. I mean, last year was hard for everybody, and now we have new changes coming up this year in
Mm-hmm.
just in the world stage, right?
Yes.
So resiliency is going to be key. How do you propel propel yourself forward when you've had the storms of life already smack you upside the head, right? And these are tools that you can use not just today, but tomorrow, 10 years from now, 5 years from now. And you'll be setting that example also for the next generation. They need to truly know how to self care. And that's emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially. And so that's what these programs are designed to do. I have a website that's HeidiMCoaching.com.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, programs. You can find the resilient programs there. And then I'm here on Instagram at Heidi M Coaching, and also on TikTok on the same thing. So feel free to reach out at any one of those things. And yeah. Keep it in a-
Perfect, perfect. You all have heard it right here. Heidi McLain. Find her, HeidiMCoaching.com, right here on Instagram. Heidi M Coaching. She's keeping it simple. Heidi M Coaching for everybody because, as she said, we all need more resilience with what's happening in the world, with what's happening in our personal lives. It helps us to connect with ourselves and then with other people and to overcome challenges in our life and just be a better person all around, I think. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again,
Thank
Heidi.
you so much. I appreciate it. And just want to let you know the reason I have two separate programs is I want men to connect with other men. A lot of men don't have that band of brothers. A lot of women are very social and share.
Yep.
And so I wanted a place separate for each one so that they could target their own specific needs. But again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And Elmira, you're doing a lot of good in the world.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Just sharing. This has been another heart to heart, everybody. We will see you next time. Goodbye.